Welcome to another episode of The Journey to Creativity, a creativity podcast. Yes, thank you so much for following this story, this journey to find my creativity, to unlock it, to unblock it, to release it, to set it free, in whatever that means, whatever that takes. I am here today with a very, very special guest, someone who paints beautifully. She's a self-taught artist. She got very passionate about face and body painting, but she started on the canvas and now she does living canvases most of the time. She offers art workshops and paint parties, and she does painting meditation workshops. And lately she is very, very excited to share her intuitive art workshops, which will be facilitated in the local city of Calgary or around, right, in Alberta, and also online. So, welcome, Christianne Olguin.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and so grateful that you invited me to share whatever my experience is with creativity.
Yes.
And so I'm excited to be here and to share whatever needs to be shared today.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you here. I'm very happy because I know that since the day we met somewhere in the spring this year, in March, in a very random workshop about, what was it? Publicity?
Marketing, publicity. What's that?
Branding.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah, and we connected immediately because we were both very passionate about creativity and the healing and everything that it involves. Before we get into the whole depth of everything we want to say, I just want to tell you that Chris Olguin, you can find her and everything about her work at her website, which is The Flow and Arts. I'm going to write this down. It's theflowandarts.com. You can find her in her Instagram at The Flow and Arts. Her Facebook page is also The Flow and Arts, and her email is chris@theflowandarts.com. So you can find everything that she does. You can hire her. She's an amazing painter, and she does so many activities that are super fun with people for all ages. And Chris.
Yes.
Creativity. Creativity is the main subject of this podcast anyway. Everyone that listens to this, they want to know about creativity. What is creativity for you? What is it? What does it mean?
Well, creativity, so many ways to try to explain it, right? And there's many creative ways of doing it. But for me, it's like an open channel that we can connect to. And sometimes it helps us to bring the invisible to the visible as a way of self-expression. Creativity is also a power that's within us. It's the power to create or co-create, whether it's our experience, whether we see it expressed in a canvas with colors, with paints, or whether we see it expressed in our experience in life. So creativity, there's really unlimited ways to be expressed, and that's where we have that freedom to really try all these infinite ways of expressing our true essence, because everyone is so unique. We have like that divine imprint that is like soul essence. It's just like the snowflakes, right? There's just one of a kind, and there's one of a kind of you, of me, of everyone. And it's that expressing that uniqueness into everything that we do, what we say, how we see the world too is part of it. But ultimately, creativity is the expression of that unique self.
Wow.
Right? So, that's one way to explain it, right? There's many ways, but that's one that I really relate to.
I love it. The expression the freedom to express yourself in so many ways in life, right?
Exactly.
It's not necessarily a specific defined or determined art form, right?
Yeah, well, that's where art comes in. Art is the tool that you use to express that creativity.
Right.
Or at least that's how I see it, right? There's the visual arts, there's the movement, expression, there's the word, and there's so many tools that you can use to express that creativity, that soul unique voice that you have, right?
Wow.
So, yeah.
And how was that for you? How did you find, or what happened? Like, did you have this need to express something, and how did that happen? How did you connect? How did you connect to? How did you find your tool, your ideal tool to express?
Well, I can say I had the desperate need to express it, and that's how I got tumbled into art, and specifically the visual arts.
Yeah.
So I had this crisis in life, at some point in life. I think we all have it, of trying to find out who we are and how we fit into this world. And I was in a very existential part in my life, right? And so I was in this crisis with so many feelings that I could not really express through words. It seems like I couldn't find a word to say, this is how I feel. So I had a real issue with words, or trying to express myself that way. I think maybe part of it is because I felt shut down in some parts in my life.
Right.
So because I couldn't express myself that way freely, I was desperately looking to express something, but I couldn't find a way. I had no idea. Until one day I took the art supplies that actually I had from past art classes that were actually very traditional classes, very strict, and a very specific way to paint and to draw, right? And it was very realistic method, the traditional method.
Right.
And I left it behind because I got kind of bored, and I had issues with the teacher, right? Or maybe with that method, right? I just got bored, and I just kept my supplies. Anyways, coming back to the story, I took out my supplies, and then I used them to express how I was really feeling at that time. And I said, I'm not going to follow any of those rules. I just want to paint how I feel right now. And I just went crazy with it. And wow, my surprise was that what I saw on the paper was expressing exactly how I was feeling.
Wow.
And that's when I said, wow, this is art. This is what art is supposed to be.
Wow.
Right? Not the idea that I had about art, only some people can do it, and there's this specific way, and the only way to do it, right? And I felt so free, so light, so liberated that I was like, wow, I found something valuable for me here.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm getting the chills just from you saying that, because I think we've all experienced that some way, right? Because we've all gone to school. Schools are kind of the same all over the world, right? I mean, in general, they will teach you language, whatever language that is. We all have a music class or an art class, and it's very rare to find a teacher that will just let you be free completely. And also, like you were saying, we have so many ways of being creative. There's so many different possibilities, and we even are limited in the ways that we should be creative.
Exactly, right? And that's the opposite of what's supposed to be, right? Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay. I love what you said. And I love your story. I remember you told me about this when we met, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I felt like we really need to talk.
Yeah, right. I remember. I know. Yeah, and like that story keeps evolving, right? And it's been evolving ever since.
Wow.
Right? That was just the first step that I took into meeting with art. Like, oh, okay, now I think I know what art is, right? And then, taking further steps and really exploring that further. That's, kind of like the evolution of my experience as an artist, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow, I love it. So you've kept on evolving, kept on exploring that same expression of what you're feeling through paint.
Yeah. So I have, like, for example, after that, what I started doing, I would go to different art classes with different teachers, just to learn how to use the mediums, different mediums, right? Like, this is how acrylic works, and these are like the basic rules of acrylic paint. And what I found is that some teachers will tell me, okay, this is how you do this, like how you paint with black, or these are the rules. And then another teacher would tell me the opposite, never do that. And then I was like, what? Like, what? Really? I thought there was like these rules with the mediums and with art, but like with the paint, right? But I see like it really can go many ways, and it's just learning how to use what tools when, right? So what I would do is just go learn the method and then unlearn it. Like, go home and just play with it. Okay, this is acrylic, water base. You water it down with water this way, that way, and then go and just play with it, right? And then the same thing with another medium or different ways to do art, right? I would just like untangle it, tangle it, and do whatever seemed like interesting or fun for me. And that's how I felt like, oh, I love this, right? That would just fit more of that creative and playfulness, and also self-expression, but also kind of like going in and learning about myself.
Wow.
Until suddenly I found that, I see a lot of what I paint is what's inside of me. It's just like the dreams, right? Yeah. Everything that happens in your dreams is in your subconscious, right? So you are the actor, and you are the background actor, and you're like all your dream, right? It comes from you, from your subconscious. Wow. And then I started using this therapy. So what I saw in my art was a reflection of my subconscious and what was going on inside me. So, if I was angry and I didn't notice, oh yeah, right, I'm feeling angry, and I remember now why, so I don't have to be carrying it. And I started using it as a therapy to transform, feelings and blockages and things that were going on.
Wow, that's exactly like how we should be creating, right? You mentioned so many important things, like you talked about having fun one way. The other thing is playfulness, breaking the rules, and just doing, undoing, whatever it is. And the objective being expressing what's inside of you, what you have in your subconscious mind, and putting it out there to make it visible and understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm loving this so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I know for sure. I know there's big insights in being playful with it. I never imagined I would find this in just being playful with paints and art, right?
Wow.
It's something that just kept, showing up, like unfolding as I was doing it and playing with it. And that's the magic about creativity too. The way it unfolds. Sometimes wow, you find surprises, and that's beautiful, right? Not everything is predictable. And, part of doing art and being creative is making mistakes too, or what we call mistakes, right? Because sometimes we overjudge what we're doing, especially in the canvas. Like, there's so much judgment about being an artist or not being an artist, and who gets to be an artist. So there's so much judgment around that when we go and paint on the canvas, or, so much of judgment comes in, whether it's a voice from, a past teacher or someone that you love that made a bad comment about it or something like that. And that creates blockages too. Right. And, but yeah, like, part of doing the art, it's going through those, what we call mistakes, and convert them into opportunity or new ways to do things. Oh, okay, I discovered, something new that I don't like. When I'm going to transform it into something that I do like.
Wow.
Right? And I believe that if we take that same mindset into our lives and how we live our lives, we can transform everything.
Wow, that's so true.
Yeah.
So even the way you face your blocks is creative.
Yeah, exactly, right? So everything in it, like, you can take that power of creativity, and I call it a power because it really is. And when we let go of that power, we notice, because our life starts feeling like it's not ours, right? Like, we are living someone else's life, or we are going by the script of what we're supposed to be doing and living. And then our spirit starts getting suppressed, and, frustration or depression can manifest in so many ways, right? And creativity is here, like, to empower us to, hey, remember, you have this magic power to create whatever experience that you want, and you have that freedom. So it's when we forget we have that power and that freedom to really live the life that we want and make out of it what we desire, when we tend to forget that. And art for me is that reminder of, like, oh yeah, right, I have this power, I just need to use it. Right?
Wow. Okay, so it's way beyond the art.
Yeah.
It's way beyond, like, this is a lifestyle, right? It's either live free or live chained from these ghosts that are in our heads, right?
Yeah. So, like, we can go back and forth.
Yeah.
Right? And we all go through it.
Yes.
There's no anyone that doesn't go through the fears, the insecurities, or, the falling into the routine and all of that. The important part is knowing that we have these tools to help us remember and, take us in the other direction of, like, yeah, I'm taking the power of, creating my experience and shifting this. And, we may not change the world ourselves, like, that's not possible, right? But we do have the power to change our experience, the way we see things, the way we interact with what's in our environment and our experiences, and the way we see things is very important to do that.
Wow. We are the sole creators of our experience. Like, you have that phrase. Did you write that, or is it a quote from
I think that quote is from Whitney Freya. So she's another mentor that has helped me develop further into this intuitive art, creative being experience. So part of that has been, like, I've grown, like playing and experiencing. But then I found Whitney Freya, and I was like, yeah, like she's doing what I've discovered, and she speaks what I know. Like I haven't like maybe talked to too many people about it, and she just has the words, and she has this method that is like really how I see art. And I just saw her maybe farther ahead, or she had something that I needed to learn from her. And she has like similar but with other words, and so I've taken those teachings too into my work. We are the sole creators of our life. Yeah.
Whitney Freya.
Yeah,
that's a good I'll take notes from this.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look her after. And so somehow this whole journey for you, when did it begin? How many years have you been in this?
Well, when I had that experience, that breakthrough, I was in my teens, maybe 14.
Okay.
I guess. Yeah, I think 14, somewhere around that age.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's been, like on and off. I've experienced different ways of art too. I've still done some of the realistic, but I just taken it in a different way, not from a judgmental way, more of like, oh, I want to know how to express this dream that I had, and I want everyone to see it, or, things like that. And I take that and I just do a mash of the intuitive with the techniques that I've learned along the way. And at the end, it's making it your own, right? And expressing with the tools that you have. So that's where the freedom comes for me too.
And this process, you started experimenting with it, learning with it, the intuitive art, and exploring your dreams, your subconscious mind, and somehow you ended up building your business around this, right? Or one of your, because you're an entrepreneur. That's another thing. You're definitely also an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to find a way to keep doing my art and sharing with other people. And, it's taken like different ways of expression. Part of it is the face painting, body painting. And I found that because a friend, she invited me to do face painting at one of her events. I had never done it. And I just had so much fun. I was like, wow, this is fun. And I just wanted to do it again. And it evolved when I started painting people. And I just saw their expression and how, they embrace either a character or they see themselves with their face paint, like either embodying something that they wanted to see in themselves and see it visible. And that I just seeing people's expression was like magic. And it really pumped me to do more of it. So I got really excited and I started with my business. It just happened like very naturally. I just put it out there and people started asking me about it and hiring me. And then, the business for face painting was born.
That's so cool. It happened naturally. I love that. So just as it just flowed out of you, right? Is that why you called it the flow and the arts?
Yeah, in a way. Yeah. So it did flow out of me. I had no business plan for this one, for this business. I just started doing it for fun. And then, it came to my thought, if you need to show it out there, if you don't show it, because I had pictures of face painting that I had done and that I had experimented with. And a voice in me told me, if you don't show it out there, no one's going to know and see it. So you should just put it out there and offer it. and see what happens. And that's what I did. And then I had a response, and yeah, it flowed very well, very easily. And also with art, I feel like I get in tune to be in the flow, right? So that's why I said, okay, the flow in arts,
The state of flow.
Yeah, the state of being in the flow, where things happen easily, naturally. You have, your vision or what you intend, and you start taking action towards that, but in a very tuned way with your intention, right? And things just start unfolding, and magic happens. So that's the flow for me.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love the name, the flow in arts. And since this has been, because you don't only do face painting, you also do these workshops, which help people to connect to the same flow.
Yeah.
Right? And have you, because I know it has been healing for you. Have you seen that in people, like in your workshops?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so just coming back to the face painting, that I find that's for celebration, right? For events and the times where people celebrate, right?
Yeah.
And then the intuitive workshops, those are the moments when you come in to see the inner waters and what's happening, right? Whether that's a self-celebration or that's, you're exploring or healing or dealing with, however you see it. So that's where the intuitive art comes in. It's more like an inner work. So I guide them with the intention for people to create this connection with their free flow of creating art, and not just on the canvas. So the canvas and the paints are the tool,
right,
to help you activate and connect with that creativity, right? So I've had beautiful experiences shared by many people taking the workshops. So I love, for example, when I hear someone saying, I was feeling so rigid in my life and like I had no freedom. Even other artists that have come to my classes, for example, that they say, wow, finally I can live with my art, but now I feel so fixed into what I have to create, and then here I finally come and just have this freedom to just be and create whatever I feel in that moment. And that gives me so much relief and inspiration. It seems like what I was doing was asphyxiating my creativity.
Wow.
And with this freedom and the way it's guided, it helps me to take those chains that I put myself on and just remember, wow, what I was doing it in the first place, right?
Wow.
Why I was doing art in the first place, and coming back to that space where I feel empowered and creative, and I feel the owner of my own art, not letting other people be the owner of my art and my creativity.
Wow.
And I've had people too that have come for the first time. They've never painted in their lives. And I really like that people that, they take that challenge to say, okay, I'm going to do it. I have no idea. And just have that openness to try something new and see, okay, let's see what happens, right? And just have an amazing experience of like, wow, I thought I was not done for this, but I love how I feel and it looks way better than I thought, right?
Yeah.
And just in general, everyone tells me like they just feel free and like light, and they go through just healing processes that they only know, right? I just put the space and do the guidance, but really they are the ones that do the work.
For sure. But you're providing that space and that guidance.
Absolutely, yeah.
Through what you know, what you have experienced, and that's super valuable to have someone like like a guide.
Exactly.
Because it is scary, right? It can be scary.
Yeah, it can be scary. And I know that because I've been there too.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I went through the traditional way of doing art and to the other side, right? And yeah, it can be scary. And actually, one of the things, the biggest gifts that I would say I learned with Whitney Freya is that negative self-talk that you have when you're doing art. Whether I'm not an artist and like, oh wow, we can be very tough on ourselves when we're creating art. And I know that inner talk. I am very familiar with that inner talk. So whenever I see it coming up in someone that's taking the workshop, I'm like, I know how to recognize it. I'm like, okay, I see something's coming up. And so I just help them work through that, through those blockages they have with either art or the idea of what art is, or even with what they think they are as an artist, right? Because I think one of the biggest blockages to being an artist or being creative, an artist, like I talk about being an artist not just on the canvas or knowing the technique, but an artist of your life, right? Like someone that takes the power to create, right? So I know one of the biggest blockages for that is believing that you are not creative, or that you're not an artist, or like, you know, I'm not this, I'm not that, why am I doing this? You know, I'm a failure at this. And then either memories start coming up, or of experiences where we've failed or done something wrong, or you start focusing on the little things like, oh, I don't like this, that, blah, blah, right? So we can be the worst judges. And the idea of this workshop is to transform those judgments into empowering thoughts. When you see that transform, and we use the canvas like a safe practice to do that, to make mistakes, to mess it up, to do everything, because at the end it's layers of paint that you're playing with. And until you start having fun and being open to the experience, that's when the magic happens. And that's where transformation happens. And when you have that experience, then you can replicate it and apply it to other areas of your lives where it might seem more difficult. But you've done it once, so then once your brain registers that, then it's like, okay, I know how to do this. I can do it again, right? And then you start bringing that into all the areas of your life. That's
so amazing. It's such a deep healing and such a liberation. It all comes down to identifying those blocks, those like inner dialogues, and transforming them into a powerful statement. I love that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So that's how you actively heal yourself from your block, is by transforming these negative ideas that may come from wherever, right? From lost places in our memory, even, and they come up during the creative process. And so I've talked about this in previous episodes. Can't remember which one, but how we identify these monsters in our mind, and we need to sort of like, Julia Cameron talks about this in her book, The Artist's Way, which is why I started this whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she says, like, make a list of that and then make a response to them.
I'm just starting to read that book.
Oh, no way.
What? That's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the good ones. In creativity. Yeah.
And I find that a lot of what she says relates to what I've discovered, just like in a different way. I'm like, oh yeah, right. Oh yeah, that's another way to put it. And it's, also a compliment into what I'm doing, because we all learn from each other, and it's beautiful.
Yes.
We do that here.
Yes. Wow. Do you think, yes, I mean, you really, I was going to ask you if you think art is something we all should do.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, in many ways, like, it doesn't matter what kind of art you do, but get your hands on it.
Get your hands on
Your
it.
hands on it, your brain, your body, whatever, whether like it's movement or word or whatever method that you prefer or feel more identified with. The important thing is that you do it. That you do that practice. It evolves as you do it, and like everything, it takes the practice, the being there, the showing up for it to evolve and grow, right? So, yeah, absolutely. Everyone should be doing art, and I think the world would be a better place if we all did it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it's healing for us, for the world.
Yes.
It's a beautiful gift that we've been given as creative beings, and we should take advantage of that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, creativity is life, right? Life is constantly multiplying, infinitely. Like, how come we think we're so limited?
Exactly. Changing, transforming. Exactly. So it's taking part into that, right? Of that transformation, and I want to, help in here and help shape it in a beautiful way.
I love it. What would you say are right now, like, do you experience this judgment, this block from within you, or do you have, what would be your like main challenges right now that you feel like you're battling with?
I think judgment, it can show up, definitely. And with practice, the other side of empowerment gets stronger. Right?
I love that.
Yeah, so it's like working the muscle, or like that story about feeding the wolf that you want to feed.
Right.
Yeah. The wolf that talks to you about empowerment, or the wolf that diminishes you or judges you. So which one are you going to feed? Right? And I think that as we do more of our practices that helps us be empowered, then we feed that wolf that makes us stronger and empowered.
I love it. Yeah, that's so true, because it's still there, but you just don't keep feeding thoughts to giving energy to that thought anymore. Just like, okay, I'm stronger than this.
Yeah. And something important to mention, I've heard some questions of some people that are raising their awareness about these patterns of thought, negative thoughts, and it's okay, like they're there. It's part of human nature, right? And in a way, it's part of our protection, right? Whether we feel fear or certain emotions, it's just knowing what to do with them, right? When people saying, oh, like, I feel like I'm more aware of my thoughts, but they keep growing, right? So it's very important to do those shifts, like we identify that thought and do the transformation into what we really want and focus on that, give it more focus and more time and energy to what we do want than what we don't want. Art also helps you to strengthen that, focus on what you do want in your artwork, and it will be a much satisfying experience when you do it than when you're focusing on only what you don't like. And we tend to do that with our partners or in our work or in our lives, like, oh, I don't like this, and we just make it bigger, right? And it's just reminding ourselves, oh, right, I need to focus on the other side that I do like as well. So, and transforming what I don't like into what I want, right? And that's like a practical way of putting creativity into our lives, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I love that. I just wanna. You've given a lot of advice. So I think if we can wrap up with what is your vision.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see in the work you're doing in your art? Where do you see yourself? Do you have like a further vision down the road, a few years from now? I don't want to give you like a date, but
Yeah. Well, I see myself spreading more of this message, helping people taking that empowerment into their lives. So I would say that's the most important for me. Even if I help 1, 2, 3 people, or as many as I'm meant to help, but taking on that mission and just seeing more of the world with that inspired action and that inspired way of living. I think that would be very beautiful, spreading that light into the world. Yeah.
I see you totally doing that.
Yeah.
You're gonna kill it. You're gonna be motivating and inspiring so many thousands and thousands of people. Why not, right? If we want to, we can dream as big as we want.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And this is a co-creation. Like,
it is.
The world that we're shaping is a co-creation. So when we're empowered and really putting of our essence into the world, we're healing the world and we're making the world a better place. So that's something beautiful that I would like to see.
I love it. Let's heal the world.
Yes. Heal ourselves to heal the world.
Heal ourselves, be ourselves to make the world a better place. Yeah.
One last thing that I would like to say, and just say thank you to everyone that has supported me along the way. Because, along the way, I found this in my crisis times, right? When I've had a crisis, that's when I've discovered something in art or creativity or, just these different tools, right? But a very important part of it is the support that I've had, the people that support me, my family, my husband, and everyone around me, or that sees that, or empowers me, also helps me to see that whether they're taking the workshop or everyone that shares their thoughts and their experiences, that's very, very grateful with that. And so I just wanted to say thank you for everyone that listens and that also shares their experience. That's something that I really appreciate.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, you've shared so much wisdom, and I think this is one of my favorite episodes. And I know that it'll have good. Will be received with a lot of love because you've shared so much. You opened your heart, shared your story in all your wisdom, and I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I needed maybe someone like you to help me get it out. Right? I can be very shy sometimes.
No, you did perfect.
It's beautiful that we had like this interview or talk, or, I just love doing it. So
thank you,
Chris.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening. And again, I want to give you Chris's information. You can check her website, theflowandarts.com, her Instagram @theflowandarts, the Facebook page, The Flow and Arts, and her email is chris @theflowandarts.com. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope to hear your comments on this and how did you feel about this. And let's end with this phrase, Chris, which whichever you want to say.
Yeah. Just remember, like you are the sole creator of your experience.